Hello, I am Sydney and welcome back to my Flock and Squawk. Today we are going to be taking a look at another vintage PSA. This one again is about general health, I believe. I did not watch it beforehand, so this is sort of an honest reaction. Again, I don't normally screen the videos before I make them into this kind of video. If, like the Pond's one where I did the Pond's routine, I did watch it beforehand. So let's just get straight into it. I am kind of recording it in a different setup this time, so I apologize for any errors or issues that come up, but let's get into it. So currently I'm not seeing anything, so I hope everything is alright. So I can't see any part of this, so one moment. So I'm back and I think I can see it now, so let's try again.
We shall show you in this film an example, kind who grow up to be strong, healthy, and happy,
Okay, so
like these
I'm
young
seeing
folk, men and women of tomorrow, with
teens
strength
and
of body to get the most out of life. These healthy children are not all from well-to-do homes, but from babyhood have had the right food, sunshine, companionship, and intelligent care. Your child can have all of this too. Do you really see your child when you look at him?
So I think it's interesting that they make comment that these kids are not all from well-to-do families, and say that instead it's the intelligent care that they have received, as well as, just having good parents from childhood who know good nutrition and what to do. So I think that's a little interesting, because some people would argue that being well-to-do definitely helps, and maybe they aren't suggesting that it doesn't help, but they're saying, like, you can be healthy even if you're poor, even if you're not well-to-do, as long as you know the right information, which I guess is kind of true. But I think being well-to-do would definitely help, because poverty does not help you stay healthy. It does not necessarily help out in any regard to that, even if you know what is good nutrition or not. And also being in poverty can affect your education because of school funding and whatnot, but we'll just watch.
Look at David, age 9. How straight he stands. Note his glossy hair, his good color, his broad chest with room for his lungs to breathe. David has none of those enlargements of bones of shoulder, chest, ribs, knees, and ankles due to poor bone growth. He has well-shaped knees. He stands on straight legs. He has beautiful feet with small ankle bones and fine arches. Straight toes, not kinked under like some of them. He has good muscles and uses them well, and is well because his
So I'm just stopping it right there again, because I think that is kind of funny how they go through and are like, His shoulders are perfect. His chest, immaculate. Look at his coloring, which would only work in this new color film that they're using. Or newer, because it's 1954, I think, is when this one came out. It might have been a different year, but just how they go through and like his knees, his ankles, the arches of his feet, his toes. That's kind of creepy, going down an entire child of being like, you are immaculate. You are a prime specimen in a way. It makes sense to showcase this is what good health looks like, but also like not everyone can look like that. Just because you have broader shoulders doesn't mean that you're unhealthy. Just because, you have breathing issues doesn't mean you're unhealthy. It just means, you have asthma or allergies or a plethora of other things that can affect your breathing, not just how your chest looks. So I thought that was kind of funny. And how they, mention his toes. So all you OnlyFans feet people, they got toes. Let's continue on.
Parents have given him. Like David, little Milo has been breastfed since birth. Breast food is baby's best food. Milo.
So I apologize to anyone. It shows a woman actually breastfeeding. So I may have to censor, but there is nothing wrong with the human body. And I don't think that there's anything inappropriate showing. It's just, might need to put a warning. So there's a warning now that you probably have seen already. But yeah, there's a woman breastfeeding her child. And as they said, baby's first food or most important food is breast milk, but that kind of shames people who use formula for various reasons. So, not every person breastfeeds can breastfeed or should breastfeed, so doesn't mean that your baby's worse off. You just need to be mindful of your formula choices. But, yeah, so, again, kind of interesting that they're pushing, natural, he looks so good and it's natural and his nutrition and whatnot, which not every child looks like that. Not every person is born like that. Or just because you do look like that doesn't mean you're healthy. And then being like, breast milk, that's number one for baby. Not number one for everyone or every baby. So, let's continue.
3 months getting his daily exercise. Already he raises himself up. Helen getting her sunbath.
Okay, it's a little awkward that they have just a full-on nude baby.
She holds her head erect. The straight lines down her side show good development. When baby is ready, 7-month-old Bill delights in doing this. Don't jump your baby down until he does it for himself. At 10 months, small-boned, beautifully developed Jean gets her exercise. Give babies plenty of space to creep. At 13 months, Anne thrills her parents by taking her first step alone. Look at her broad chest and fairly flat tummy, though she has just had her dinner.
Did they just say that child, look at her flat tummy even though she has just eaten? That's a baby. Oh, that's a baby they're talking about. The flat chest. I mean, flat tummy, even though you just ate. Like, food babies are real, so no erasure to my history of food babies, please. And not especially with a actual literal baby. So I think that's kind of weird. And yeah, there's a lot of nude babies for some reason. Don't sexualize them. I will probably be blurring, so they're literal babies from the 50s. These are someone's grandparents.
Anne loves to stand holding to the buggy. Note her nice straight back, her straight lines down her side showing good development. She has a well-shaped head, good color, and abundant glossy curls. Jimmy, the same age as Anne, is stockier built. His bones and muscles are heavier. He walked sooner, partly because he had more chance to cleat. All these preschool children have been well-fed since birth and have good appetite. Agnes and Carl, both 2.5 years. Carl has a well-shaped head, glossy.
So, I think it's interesting that they keep bringing up the same points again and again when showing off good examples of children. Their head looks nice. They got good hair, good coloring, which, yeah, I guess that could apply to pretty much anyone. But when you're only showing white babies, that's kind of, I mean, obviously of the time that, you know, white would be put above. But it's really weird that they only show good examples of coloring so far. And like, yeah, if your baby is ashy or whatever, you would probably need to put lotion on them. Or if they have dry, red, irritated skin, you want to treat that. But it's interesting that they bring it down to coloring also. Like, oh, your baby, you know, looks healthy because it, you know, its head looks good. It's got good bone structure. Your toddler has been standing and whatnot. He eats well, happy appetite. And, you know, broad chest. Just like listing all of these things that they see as part of good health. And, like, it's not like they have many examples. It's like mostly white children, or it is all white children with like predominantly blondish looking hair, at least with the color that has been reproduced or picked up or whatever on camera. So it's really weird that they have like just a checklist of things that they keep going off for all these different children.
Hair
And all these
very
children
good
look
color.
remarkably
As he watches
similar.
his dandelion sail away presently, see what fine teeth he has, how straight and even they are in his broad, well-developed jaw, which gives plenty of room for his second teeth. Joyous, fairy-like Patsy with Carl is beautifully developed child who rejoices in activity. Patsy at 4 years knows her food. She said to her aunt, I mustn't drink cocoa, tea, coffee, cola, nothing but milk.
So they just said that that child will recite what they can't have. No coffee, tea, cola, cocoa, just milk. So that seems kind of odd. I know, like, a lot of people say or have strong feelings against, and then there's research against, like, sugar in young childhood. But I think it's interesting that, like, in this old video that there's just a kid that can recite the beverages they can't have and just are like, only milk. I assume water is also unacceptable, but like it kind of sounds like demonizing these drinks when like there's no reason to. Sure, you probably don't want your child having coffee at 4 years old, but like it's no reason to demonize it. Maybe just dissuade, but until they're older. But still, like, it's very interesting that there's a child that can list off things that they aren't allowed to have. Obviously there are probably children like that today, but still it's just interesting that in a PSA they focused in on a child and discussed the things that she can list that she can't have.
Patsy is going to serve milk to her little friends. Patsy and dark-haired Marilyn are both 4 years old. Bobby's 6 and his sister Irene 4 have well-grown bones and strong muscles. What good control they have of them. Bobby's perfectly developed chest and ribs give plenty of room for breathing. Bobby also, you will note, has well-spaced, even teeth in a well-developed jaw. Note these happy 7 to 11-year-old children. Barbara, standing erect in the foreground calling to Joan, is well-developed, tall, with broad shoulders. Barbara and Joan are both 7 years old. Joan, too, is well-developed, but short and stocky. This older group shows differences in
So now we're moving on to older children. And I think it's interesting that, they're pointing out, look how well developed she is. And then, she is also, but she's short and stocky, so. And then moving on to the next group of children. I just think, like that's interesting that they only really want to highlight, the ideal. Yes, this other child is well developed, but, they're on the short side. And that's genetic. We know that's genetics. That's or mostly genetic of how tall you end up. And so to be like, oh yeah, well she is, but short and stocky. What do our parents look like? Are her parents both short and stocky? Because that would make sense as to why, despite being well developed by their standards, that she's a little shorter and stockier than the ideal child you just pointed out to us. It's completely ignoring what these kids, their parents look like, their family looks like. So I just think that I feel like this one has more, not necessarily issues, but things that have arisen that's compared to the other PSAs. The other PSAs I was pretty well in agreement overall. This one I agree, yeah, you can point out things that are aesthetic or just sort of the prime example of what a child that age group should look like. But it's not giving us, how in the 5 Fingers to Good Health, where it talks about nutrition, what they have been eating. It just shows them mostly playing outside and talking about how, they can move in a correct manner because their body allows them to. It's sort of not really, it's giving a whole range of examples of white children, or a lot of white children to look at of various ages, but not necessarily saying, other than drink milk, babies drink breast milk. It's not giving us of this child eats predominantly processed food at home compared to this child where the processed food is a special occasion thing. They are eating a lot of vegetables and protein. They aren't giving us that sort of thing. In the 5 Fingers to Good Health video that we watched, the last PSA, it showed how that kid was sluggish. He, barely wanted to go out with his friends. He was feeling just down. And then he committed to making sure that he followed the food groups and everything that were outlined in his class. And he thought about the other students in his class and how they looked and how they were energetic compared to him and what they eat compared to him. And then once he committed to eating a different way and making sure that he had vegetables on his plate, how he felt so much better and lively and went out to play and all of that. This one is just here are children, white children playing. Let's just film them and talk about how they have good bone structure, good coloring, good hair, whatnot. So it's kind of a discrepancy. but this is the, like, 50s video.
Size
so.
and build. Harriet, the little one in the center, is 11 years old, and Marilyn, the largest, 13. This is David, 9 years old, and Don, 12. Don is a thin, wiry type. David, whom we have met before, is heavy. Jean, 11 years old, shows beautiful development and excellent control of her muscles, and is a lovely-looking creature because from infancy, Jean has had everything that helps to make a beautiful human being. Alan and his sister Betty illustrate the racehorse type with long, slender bones and muscles. Both are still growing rapidly and need
Okay, now
plenty
they're
of the right
showing
kind
different
of
body
food
types,
and
but
rest.
still,
Alan
these are just
shows
white
excellent
children
control of his
playing.
long, slender muscles,
And
carries
they aren't
himself
telling
well and
us
breathes well.
necessarily
Alan's charming
exactly
smile
what
as he chins shows
helped get them
vitality
this way.
and joy in living. These children, helping mother pick vegetables, get many kinds of nourishment. Fresh air, sunshine, vegetables, eggs too. Now, note the following necessary food.
So now, over halfway in, we are going to get into the necessary foods. But as it just listed, before we knew milk, it's showing vegetables, eggs, sunshine, which is not a food, but it's apparently attributing to their good health, which I don't think anyone can deny that, vitamin D and some sun does help, or artificial sun, if you have, like, a sad light. So, well, let's hear them out now, because that has been a long video of just showing prime example white children. So.
Milk, the best bone-building food for all ages. Oranges, an excellent source of vitamin C. Also cabbage and tomatoes. Cabbage usually not till 2 years. Potatoes, a cheap source of iron, vitamin C, and energy. Green and yellow vegetables, strained, of course, for babies. Dried beans for blood and muscle, not for young children. This cut of beef costs little. Pig's liver at 12 cents a pound has all this cut has, plus all the vitamins. Strained liver for baby. Dried fruits, strained, of course, for baby. Fresh fruits, too. Bread, whole grained after 2 years. Whole grain cereal like rolled oats with milk is fine for breakfast. Strained for baby. Eggs, 1 a day for each child.
So it's going through all these different foods, which I don't think anyone would necessarily argue are bad, which no food is bad, but like meat, vegetables, egg, milk. Milk, obviously, if you're lactose intolerant, is not great. And if you're vegan or vegetarian, like, the meats aren't necessarily ideal as the recommendations, since you don't eat meat or animal product. But, like, I don't think the general, like, American people would say, oh, that's bad. So, and, like, fish, not bad. But it's just interesting how they're also saying, like, not for baby. For baby. After this time. Like, you would think that there would, like, this video is, like, rapid fire going off on the food now. But you would think that if you were a parent, like, your pediatrician would have given you this information, and this PSA wouldn't necessarily be the way you get this information. Because this is really rapid fire now. Like, all of a sudden we get to the food and they're just rattling it off. So, I wonder, is this targeting, like, teens? Because going through all those children, you'd think it would be targeting parents. So I'm kind of confused as to who the audience is, because parents, or soon-to-be parents, would probably already have gotten the information, or at least a thing of what baby can and cannot have at what time. So I'm not sure about this, but overall, like, the food itself, not a bad recommendation so far. It's pretty comparable to the 5 Fingers to Good Health. It's pretty comparable to other of the time guidance, so nothing really there that stands out to me. But it's just like, it took over half the video of looking at children, of ideal examples, to get to this. So
Salmon or other fat sea fish, a cheap farm protein food. The strained oil can bacon, an appetizing energy food, especially for older growing boys and girls. Sweets should give more than just energy. Molasses and brown sugar give some iron also. White sugar does not. Well-nurtured children become healthy and happy grown-ups. An abundant and properly balanced diet based on the foods just seen, plus plenty of sunlight and play and a due portion of the milk of human kindness, makes children grow into healthy, well-balanced, efficient citizens. All the youngsters seen in these pictures have had such care. We must see to it that the boys and girls in our homes and on our playgrounds have the inexpensive yet priceless advantages these youngsters have had, and are thus well fitted to take their places in the ranks of those who do the everyday work of the world, the work on which our national welfare depends.
So we finished up the video, and like it showed at the end, like, men are at work, there's a woman at home. These are prime examples of white American people, or presumably American. And they look this way because they had good health and nutrition from childhood. And that, I feel like, completely neglects the genetics of these people. The fact that, yes, you say they get outside, they exercise, whatever, but how much? How much exercise? How much outdoor time are these people having to look that trim and fit? And what are their portion sizes? Just show us what their parents look like, because the genetics really can weigh heavily in one way or another. They only showed prime examples per their words. Like, they showed children that have grown up on this diet, but just because they grew up on this diet and turned out that way doesn't mean a child who grew up on that diet didn't turn out a different way. So I think that this one is honestly, like, kind of the most questionable out of them, in terms of you're only showing ideals, ideal white figures, not a non-white person in sight, which does a really big disservice, because people need to be able to see themselves portrayed, which is still an issue we have today, and obviously it was not going to be addressed in this 1950s PSA on nutrition, but it just really shows, like, some people grew up seeing only white ideal children, ideal people, like in educational content, because this is supposed to be like educational content. So I think that's a big point out of this video, is that this is weird. This one is very Twilight Zone watching in comparison to some of the other PSA videos. Some of the other ones are very, like, still relevant. Like this one, I would say, yes, it's relevant, but only if you're a white, like, good genetic child, or you want, like, the broadest swipe at nutrition. Like, 5 Fingers to Good Health, I feel like, provides this information in a better way. Obviously, that other video does not tell you when baby can or cannot have something, but it explains nutrition and how you feel and what vegetables and everything to eat, I feel, in a way better manner. This one just doesn't cut it for me. But yeah, let me know what you think. And I hope you enjoyed watching this with me and reacting. And feel free to check out my other videos. I do have several other vintage PSAs, some on dating, some on nutrition like the last one, and health. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you will flock and squawk again with me sometime, and feel free to check out what else I have. Have a good day.